Vocab Malone. He's a perfect example of a heathen. Okay? James White, that's a heathen. I can go on and on and on. These are heathens. Christian pastors, creative flow of dollars, heathens. Because these are Gentiles who's trying to use our word to cover their wickedness and to excuse willful sin on the earth. Okay? Those are the heathens we're talking about, or when I speak of heathens, right? Because why? Even though Gentiles were born of other races, those that were within the Israel borders or our forefathers' borders or provinces were considered brothers amongst Israelites, brothers and sisters. So when I say heathen, I'm not just talking about any other, just white people. Okay? T.D. Jakes, he's an Israelite, right? But he's walking and operating like a heathen. He's a walking heathen. Okay? Let me read this real quick. Moses. Because the Most High didn't only give Moses the law to give to Israel only. He gave Moses the law so that the Gentiles could learn to follow in the earth righteously also. Now, of course, when Christ come and divide the nations, he'll set each nation according to the bounds that were set originally, with Israel ruling. But if you are within our borders or in our church, Gentile or not, you are treated under the laws of God. So we will treat every person as an Israelite.
And that's where he went off, giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham Ruach HaKodesh, to bow honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well, enabling the word and doctrine. Shalom and peace. May that be into the elect of the nation of Israel. Now this is from the elders video, the biblical defenders. He also has a channel, Defense of One Body, right? And I believe that, yeah, that word one is a word. Defense of one, not the number. And also Holy Bible Defenders, right? It's the same elder. He's an elder of Great Millstone. He's done an edifying video on it. You know, as always coming out with edifying videos. But I wanted to do a response or a point I'd like to make in reference to what this is on screen. Yeah, that's not the elder. That's Elder Rakah from GOCC, a Gathering of Christ Church, which are another Israelite group. I said Instagram, another Israelite group. Right, there's many camps, congregations. Of theirs, they call on Ahiah for the Most High's name, and Yeshaya for the son's name, which is off, which is wrong. But he came out of One West. I wasn't at the original school. These men were in this work before I was born. But he's still going off on certain things. But he used to be, and I think he still keeps the chart. For Judah, it's Yahawah. But why is it not Ahayada? Just simple things like that. But that's not the point of this one. You're going to go into Leviticus 25, because he basically said, and let's go verbatim.
You are treated with Israel ruling. But if you are within our borders or in our church, Gentile or not, you are treated under the laws of God.
Now, I'm not sure if he's talking about his congregation specifically, or if he's trying to make a wider point about the children of Israel back in the days. But either way, you're completely going off. If they're in your borders, let's see if they get the same. And this is why the Gentiles issue is a major issue. Like he said, and he got it. He got a certain bit. T.D. Jakes, all these people, the pork chop pastors, they are Gentiles, they are heathen. They're Israelite heathens. Right? They're moving like another nation. specifically the ease. But let's get into this. So Leviticus 25, and I'm not gone over this in a while. There it is. Let's see, man. So we'll start at 38. I know we'll see where we go with it. And Salaki for dragging out the introduction. I went to play that. I went to give a brief background before we got into it. Not throw you in at the deep end, so to speak. But most of you brothers will already know that. And you probably already understand that, but it's cool. Leviticus 25 and 38 and down. I am Yahawah, your power, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your power. Right, your God. Verbatim. When we see God, it's a German word, so you read power because God means power. You know, when you say God, people think you're talking about the Heavenly Father. So it's just easier if we use that as a replacement. It said, and if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant. Right, now this is not talking about your brother right, your brother Esau. This is talking about your Israelite brother. I'll prove that. In Leviticus 19 and 17. You know what, we can even start at 16 through 18. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people. So thy people, that's a group. Neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. Right, it's the same people group. I am Yahawah. Right, so that's the same people. Your people, your neighbor. So your neighbor are your people. You know, your kindred. You come from the same man, the same seed. Which for us is who? Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. That's why we're called the Israelites. Right, so thou shalt not hate thy brother. Again, so thy brother, thy neighbor, thy people, synonymous. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am Yahweh. So your people, your brother, I'm talking about that. That's talking about Jake, Israelites. Alright. Yeah, even... Really, I should have started up. We've missed the point, so carry on. So it says, and if thy brother, this is Leviticus 25 and 39, and if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as an hired servant, and as a sojourner, he shall be with thee, and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. And then he shall depart from thee, both he and his children with him. Now take key notes, man, because these are going to be, we're going to play a little spot the difference, all right? But as an hired servant, so your brethren, as a hired servant and a sojourner, he shall be with thee, and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. Right, so you had a certain, it's similar to the year of release. Now you can look that up. At the end of every 7 years, you would have a release of any debts that would accumulate. So you see how you've got a debt clock, and you've got all this trillion and billion and bumperclatillion dollars and pounds, Great British pounds and dollars, which is a fucking fake fiat currency anyway. Good alliteration there. But that should all get wiped, even though it's not real money. It's not based on a natural resource like gold or silver. And it should be reset according to these scriptures. If I just put in year of release, Deuteronomy 19, now 15. 15 and 1, it said, at the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release, and this is the manner of the release. Every creditor, so everyone that's lending out, every creditor that lendeth out, which is an old Yorkshire word, not a Yorkshire word, it's still used in Yorkshire, so an old English word. Every creditor that lendeth out unto his neighbour shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbour or of his brother, because it is called Yahweh's release. Alright, so there's certain times you're not allowed to. And certain people be wicked and be like, all right, so I'm not going to lend to him in the 6th year because I know next year, it's the year of release and he won't pay me back. You fucking wicked. We have to do these laws. We're not going to keep it perfectly on this side. But when the Elder Rakar from GOCC is saying, you treat every Israelite the same, as a heathen, as a non-Israelite, which is off, because even in that, a usury, like it says in this verse, which I missed, a usury, you're allowed to use that against a non-Israelite, but you're not allowed to use that against your Israelite brother. So if you're saying you treat them, I don't know what you're saying, man. Wait, either way. Where are we? There it is. 41, Leviticus 25 and 41. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his fathers shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. And ultimately, the nations, they will learn the laws in the kingdom, which, it will happen. But the point was, the law was given to who? Moses, to teach you the Israelites, so they may be kings and priests. Right? Not this whole like we're I don't even know how to phrase it. We're sort of like the elder from GMS said, from Defense of One Body. It's like you might as well be a Christian. You're like a Christian with a Hebrew twist. That's what it is. A little bit of Hebrew seasoning, a little bit of salt. That's about it. It's basically Christianity with Israelites are. I don't even know if it would be considered a ruling class, but they've got some level of authority, but he's still trying to balance the playing field, and it's a false balance. Let me say. All right, Leviticus 25 and 42. For they are my servants which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but thou shalt fear thy power. Now listen, man. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. So what did he say? If we're in our borders, we treat them all the same apparently. So who's your bondman? So you're telling me you're going to have an Israelite as a bondman, as a bondservant? It says, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant. That's Leviticus 25 and 39. It's talking about your brother, your Israelite brother. So if you do that, you're completely going off. Right? If you have an Israelite in slavery, that's sin. Okay? Whereas here, it says of the other nations, it's not sin to do that. It's not against the law. It's not a transgression. And what is it? Romans 4:15. Because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. So if there's no law that says you're not allowed to have a bondservant of another nation, then we'd be going off. But we're not going off because it says the other nations will be bondservants. So we'd have to conclude that you're going off. And what would happen if you had an Israelite as a bondservant? So it says, moreover, I'll read 44 again. Both thy bondmen, I believe that word would be ibad. Right, Leviticus 25 and 44. Both thy bondmen, ibad, which is slave, servant, manservant, subjects, servants, worshippers of God. And that's probably what GOCC would say it means. It says servant in special sense as prophets, Levites, etc. Servant of Israel, and that's what it is, slave. It says servants as form of address between equals. It's damn sure not that. But that's what it seems, again, that's what it seems they're trying to push out, or the leader is trying to push out. And it's nothing personal, right? It's to do with the doctrine. But that seems to go over people's heads. Just because it's a doctrine thing, it doesn't mean we hate you. I therefore become thine enemy because I tell thee the truth. Alright, Leviticus 25 and 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. So the Goyim. The Goy is a nation people, usually of non-Hebrew people. Why? Because you can have Hebrew, the Edomites, They're Hebrews, but they're not Israelites. You can have Hebrew Edomites, red Hebrew Edomites. It says, of descendants of Abraham, of Israel, of swarm of locusts, other animal fig, figuratively, I believe. Proper masculine noun. There's a proper masculine noun, that. Right, Goyim, nations. Then you got nation 3, 7, 4 times. Heathen, 1, 4, 3 times. Gentiles, 30 times. People, 11 times. Now we want the word for your bondmaids. It says Amma, which I believe is the word for mother, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Unless that's Ima. Let me see. Yeah, mother. Okay. So it's I would have to check that. Yeah, that's something I should do off camera. But sometimes I find it interesting to do it on camera. And it gives you the avenue to explore as well, if you wish to. So Amma, it says maidservant, female slave, maid, handmaid, concubine, of humility figuratively. So handmaid 22 times, maidservant 19 times, maid 8 times, bondwoman 4 times, bondmaids twice. So in the context where it's juxtaposed to ibadium, right? It's bondmen. Let me just check. Ibad. Yep. Is it twice? Very cool. Yeah, when it's in what ibad ka, meaning and the slaves that belong to you, right? Thy bondmen. Yeah, when it's juxtaposed to ibad, the multiple bond like slaves, yeah, it's a slave woman as well. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that round about you, of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. 45. Moreover, of the children of the strangers, and this is talking about non-Israelite strangers. That word for strangers, yeah, thawashab. Not every time that this in fact, let me check that, unless this is Abraham. Yeah, cool. So not every time that it talks about Tawashab, they necessarily mean non-Israelite, because Abraham wasn't descended from the man Israel or Jacob, but he was an Israelite because he was a prince of the power. That's what Israelite means. So moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. So begat in your land is what? Within your borders. So are you treating them like Israelites here? Or rather, are you treating Israelites like this? Because you're still allowed to have them for a basically the worst violation of having an Israelite as a heathen. So that's the largest range of contrast. So that's the example I will use. Verse 46, and listen to this. In contrast, he'll serve you unto Jubilee, and then he'll go with his children and go back to his own family. That's the Israelite. Now this is about the children of the strangers that are in your borders. All right, and they were talking. We treat them equal if they're in our borders. Salaki, if I'm overemphasizing the point, I feel like I'm waffling, but Lord willing, it is edifying. So Leviticus 25 and 46, and you shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule over one another with rigor. So you shall take them, you'll take their children forever. That's an inheritance, that's your property. But over your brethren, and so what's that? A distinction, a difference. That's treating them completely differently. You're not allowed to rule over them with rigor. So if you're saying this is all cool to do in the land, and we're not going to have Israelites in slavery, man. That's not what the kingdom's going to look like. Leviticus 25 and 46. And you shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever, but over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule one over another with rigor. And let's look at that word, with rigor. With parak. Harshness, severity, cruelty. It says rigor 5 times and cruelty once. And the Egyptians, there it is, the Egyptians made us serve with rigor. Right, and that's why the Lord said, that's a reason that the Lord said you're not allowed to, because these are his servants. Right, he can put, ultimately the Lord put us in slavery under this man right now. The Lord can do what he wants. But when it comes to us, Israelites have strict guidelines on how to deal with other Israelites, how to deal with other nations. And to say that it's interchangeable, it doesn't fucking matter, we're all one. Bullshit doctrine, a worldly bullshit doctrine, man. It's lucky for the harsh language. Yeah. So Exodus 1 and 13. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And that's why we have bitter herbs on the Pesach to remind us of the hard, bitter bondage. I know horseradish, that's personally what I had. And that's a difficult thing to eat, man. That's bitter. And you bite into that, your eyes start going, you start tearing up. You start, not to get too graphic, but your nose starts getting runny, and you're snotty, and you feel it, you can feel it in like the top of your nose. It's like you feel it in your whole face, man. It's not a nice experience. I was never meant to, the Lord didn't put bitterness for us to be, have the time of our lives. You understand? The Lord made these times bitter for our purification. You understand? For our trial, for our chastisement. When you're chastised, the modern concept is to be punished, but to be chastised really means to be clean, right? To be pure, so you have to filter out any impurity. Same way with the heat. When you go into oil, sorry, not oil. Well, you can refine that, that's a different process. When you go into ores, is what I meant to say, right? My 2 top favorite games to make reference to, a game I played when I was growing up, when I was a young boy, was a game called RuneScape. And what you do, you take the tin ore and the copper ore, and you'd have to refine them together, and you get a bronze bar. So it'd purify, it would heat up out any impurities. So these are the times, that's why trials, these better things must come to pass. Jacob's trouble, why it must come to pass. The charagma, why it must come to pass. The thing, right now, why it is. It is here. Never mind, come to pass, it's here. You understand? That's why. For trial. Alright, and another, concerning the Passover. Now, if we're all treating them the same, then what, you're going to invite a heathen to the Passover? Where the Lord said no heathen can eat thereof. So let's get into this. Exodus 12, and starting at verse 43. And Yahawah said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. I believe is that word, not thawashab. Oh, no. It's nakar. Yeah, that makes much more sense. Cool. So the word there, you click on it, it says stranger there. And the word there is ban. All that means is son. You understand? So you have to look below it. It's the word nakar. And that's why it has an arrow on the right hand side. So you click on that. And it says a foreign. No, it doesn't. It says foreign. A foreign. You go on a foreign, brethren. It says foreign, alien, foreignness. That which is foreign, foreignness, foreign gods, alien, foreigner, foreign, vanities. It says strange 17 times, stranger 10 times, stranger 7 times, alien once. So when it says no son of the Nakar, Karl Bany, there you are, man. Karl Banyakar, that means all the sons of the strangers. They can't eat the heathen, the non-Israelites. That means the Edomites, the Elamites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Japhethites, any of you Damites, apart from Israelites, which you lot have to keep it, or by law, you other ites are not allowed to keep it. So if you're going by this, the Elder Rakar's doctrine from GOCC, you'd have to be saying, heathens, they would have to eat it as well, which is again completely off. So Exodus 12:43, and Yahawah said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover, there shall no stranger eat thereof, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired so when that's talking about every man's servant that is bought for money when he is circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. What's that talking about? If no son of the stranger at all is allowed to eat it, then is this now a heathen, like the Lord's double-minded, la'ah. Right, and then that word there for foreigner, that's tawashab. Yeah, tawashab. What? Yeah, wash. Yeah, cool. So how can no stranger eat thereof? But then you're saying there's no difference. It's completely going off. It even says, I'll keep reading. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. And let's just go in this word servant, see if in the law Israelites are ever referred to as ibad, which we've gone into this already, but you can see it as servants of Israel was when it's referred to heathen, and then you have worshippers of God, and then you have servant in special senses as well. So not to say every time it's used, but like I said, when it's used, when that was used in contrast, it's completely different. So you have to treat them completely different. Bear with me a minute. Alright, forgive me. What was I saying? Yeah, let's see if this is ever used to refer to Israelites. So going to the law. This word's used a lot, as you can see. 803 times. There it is. And it's not necessarily talking about all Israel, but it's a use. It refers to an Israelite, which is all I needed. You got the presupposed rule was it's always talking about heathen, or it can never be referring to an Israelite. When you check it, if there is one instance, then that clearly breaks the hypothesis, the idea that would be a rule. So Exodus 14:31, and Israel saw the great work which Yahweh did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared Yahawah, and believed Yahawah and his servant Moses. We'll get one more. Leviticus 25:55. For unto me are the children of Israel servants. For unto me the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahawah your power. Again, Numbers 17, and by that I mean 12 and 7. Numbers 12:7. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou circumcise him, then shall eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. Then it continues on this stranger. We'll go into it anyway. This word, Gar. So, Exodus 12:48. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to Yahawah, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. and he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So this sort of stranger, this Israelite stranger, all it means is a Jake born outside of the borders of the land of Israel. Right, so when he comes, then he's just like one born in the land. Right, that is what Elder Racha from GOCC is conflating the stranger, which means a non-Israelite, a heathen, compared to a stranger, which means an Israelite born in another land. Right, that's an Israelite born in another land and an Israelite born in Israel or in the land there. You know, you can't treat them different in terms of that. And there's a difference, but you still treat them as an Israelite. So all them things you can't, just because an Israelite was born outside the borders of the so-called land of Israel, or the promised land. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can put him in slavery. Yeah, he's not that sort of stranger. So it says 49, says one law should be to him that is homeborn, again born in the land. One law should be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Alright, it said, thus did all the children of Israel, as Yahawah commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yahawah did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. Right, and the Lord, the firstborn, he wasn't going around like smiting all the heathen and then going, oh wait, yeah, but this heathen, there's something special. Now, this Egyptian, this firstborn Egyptian heathen Hamite, yeah, he's special. It wasn't like that. And so there's a difference, man. There is a difference. I didn't expect it to go that long, but there you are, man's going through the Lord. I don't know how it got that long, as well, considering what I've covered. But yeah, I pray it was edifying. It wasn't too much saying the same thing. It was just Salakia. Forgive me if that is the case. But on to the next one, Lord willing. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, neighboring the word and doctrine. Kal halalyam, all praises, kal halalyam, to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, rucha, kodash. Shalom.